Hello, demons and ghouls.
Hello, everyone.
How you doing?
Doing good.
I'm doing good.
That's good. How are you guys doing?
Just let us know. You can email us.
DM us.
inthepudding.podcast@gmail.com.
DM us at inthepudding.podcast on Instagram.
Let me know how you're doing. Or you can comment on a picture. I'll like the comment.
Maybe even reply.
If I'm feeling up to it. Sometimes I get nervous.
Yeah. Get a little shy.
So, today's episode is about
ghosts, demons, spirits in a house that I lived in.
that I can't really relate to. I feel maybe I have I don't know. I feel like you have had a lot. I've had like some that I would like, I don't know.
I have had so many ghost experiences, experiences in my lifetime. It's so amazing, but scary.
Oh.
It's amazing but scary. I look at it and I'm like, wow, that's such an amazing thing I witnessed. But in the moment, I'm terrified and crying.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it.
I feel like also before we talk about that, you're really into spirituality and and really in tune with yourself. And I feel like I want to be so badly. I honestly wish I was, and I've tried, but I feel like I'm more of a science person. But I'm so open up to experiencing that, and I wish I did more. So maybe that's why I haven't really experienced a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
So let's just put that out there.
Okay. I lived at this house. Oh, there's so many stories.
Tell your favorites.
So I was in 5th grade, okay, and I went to a Catholic school in 5th grade. This isn't the first ghost experience I've had, but this is just one that stuck out to me. So I was in 5th grade, and we went on a field trip to a cemetery. It's Graceland Cemetery in Chicago, Illinois. You can look it up. It's supposed to be haunted. I don't know why they chose to take a 5th grade class there, but they did. So we all went to the cemetery, and there's this one, what is it called? It's a statue that represents the person that's dead instead of their headstone. It's basically that. But there's this one story of this little girl that died in the 1800s or something, a really long time ago. And they buried her there, and they have a little statue of her in a glass box. She's covered in a glass box.
Why is she in a glass box?
It's just to protect the statue.
Oh, okay.
Do you want to see a photo?
Yeah, I do actually.
All right.
Viewers at home, you can take this time to look at it yourself.
Viewers at home, if you go onto Google or whatever search engine that you use,
use Google.
Look up Graceland Cemetery little girl. All right, so we just pulled it up right now. If you literally just look up Graceland Cemetery little girl, it pops up. She's a statue of a little girl in a glass box, and it's her headstone. So she's buried underneath there, right? And it was a whole story that the people that maintain the grounds, they would be they would hear laughter, or they would hear running at night when they were maintaining the grounds, and they were just always oh, it's the little girl, They also said things if you put stuff around the box or on top of the box, it somehow winds up inside. That's what they said. If you put a coin on top of the box, it winds up inside. And if you look at the photo, you can see that it's all sealed at the bottom. There's no way to lift that up from its position. It's sealed, right? You see that?
Yeah.
So that's what they said. That was the whole thing. Oh my God, it's so scary when we went there. And during the whole cemetery visit, I was never freaked out, but I also knew at a young age to always respect the dead and respect the cemetery. I never ran around the cemetery. It's a respectful place. You don't fool around there.
But I also wonder, why bring a class of little middle schoolers that act up? I think that's disrespectful.
It is. And let me tell you, I remember I didn't do anything there. I never took photos. I know a lot of people were taking photos, the chaperones, would take photos of the kids next to the statue. And I was I don't want to take a photo. I just didn't feel it was respectful, because it's not these are dead people, it's a cemetery.
It's someone's family member.
Yeah. And I remember during that whole field trip, everybody was running around, and they didn't really care about where the headstones were, where the graves were. They're just running, because an open field, basically. That's what they were treating it like. And do you know in the cemetery where they have the houses?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So they have that area of houses at that cemetery, but it's kind of next to a hill. So you can climb up the hill and wind up on the roof of the houses. Like you can kind of go near the roof.
Oh, okay.
If that makes sense. If you can visualize that, you know?
Like you're above where that...
Yeah, you're above. If you go up a hill, you're above the houses to the point where you can touch like the roof and like go on top of the roof. Okay. So when we all saw those houses, because they're all lined up, a bunch of kids went up on the hill and started running across the roof of the cemetery.
They were on the roofs?
Yeah, like they were on the roofs, like running across the hill, like on the roof, like just having a grand old time. And I remember that a chaperone took a photo of like, I don't know, if there were like 4 houses, I think there were like 3 kids in between like the little divots of the house, like the roofs.
Oh yeah.
And like they were like posing like with their hand on their cheek, like on top of the roof. And like I just remember like being like, why are they on top of the cemetery roof? And they would be like, oh, Viviana, like come on, like go and take a photo. And I was like, no, I don't really want to. But it wasn't because I was like scared. It was more like, that's disrespectful. And I feel like something weird's gonna happen, you know? Okay. And I remember little old me left a coin on top of this girl's box. Okay, I did do that because I don't think it's disrespectful. It's not like I was like taunting her. I never taunted her through the box, never talked down to her. I never even did anything. I just wanted to add a coin because it's like, oh, they say if you add a coin, it ends up inside. Nothing else bad is supposed to happen, right? So I did that and we just left the field trip and that was the end of it. That was just the field trip. And I lived in this house, like the 3 flat with my mom, and we were in like the middle floor. And a lot of weird stuff happened at that house that is like not related to this, but like spooky stuff was already happening in the house. And I remember one night I woke up in the middle of the night, which is it's so rare. I never ever wake up in the middle of the night.
Must
like,
be nice.
Like I'm always like once I fall asleep, I'm asleep.
Yeah.
I never wake up unless I'm like sick or something, like, but I just never wake up. But this time I woke up in the middle of the night for no reason. And I was just like staring at my ceiling and I was like, okay, I guess I'll use the bathroom. Like I didn't really need to, but I went to like go use the bathroom. I walked outside of my bedroom and right when I walked outside, my bathroom is like right next to me, like to the right.
Yeah.
To the other side, my left is like my living room area. So if you can imagine, like my living room area, yeah. Okay? So I walk out and then I'm like, I wouldn't say I'm half awake, but I wasn't completely awake. But I know that I was awake enough to know that this happened, right? So I look outside of my door, going into my bathroom, and then I feel like I see something in the corner of my eye. And then I turn and I see that little girl walk through the wall going into my bedroom. And
like she went into your bedroom?
She went into like my bedroom, but through the wall. And if you're looking at the photo, you can see she's wearing like a white, well, you could assume it's white from the statue, a white dress like with the frills at the bottom and the frills at like the arm cuff and stuff. I saw that exact dress. And in the moment when I saw that, I was really scared, but I wasn't like terrified. I was more like I'm watching this right now, but I wasn't like screaming or anything because I've had so many experiences. Like I wasn't even that scared. But I was
giving
just like,
me chills right now.
But I was just like, oh my God, like I'm seeing this little girl. So I went back into my room and then I remember I like prayed because I was so scared. And then I told my mom about it the next day. But at the time when that happened, I didn't make the connection that it was the same little girl from the cemetery.
Oh, okay.
I just thought it was like a little girl. So I kept telling my mom, like, I just saw a little girl. Like I was asleep and I woke up and I saw a little girl. And then I forgot how I brought this up again, but I started telling somebody that I went to a cemetery as a field trip. And then it clicked in my head like a year or 2 later that that's the same little girl. Because right when I looked at the picture of the statue, it's like I saw that freaking little girl in my house. And it was so weird because it's like the dress and everything and the hair was the same. And she just went straight through the wall into my bedroom. And I was like, oh my God, like that's the little girl, which is, it's wild.
That's so spooky. And no, because me, like I would have started freaking out.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh. But does your mom, like, is she like that too? Like she has a lot of those experiences?
Like my family, like we're very like receptive to that. Like we've experienced a lot.
So have you seen like a lot of random people or like family members?
I've seen, Okay, I remember I saw what I think was a freaking angel once. I swear, it was so cool. I remember I've seen an angel. Let's just call it an angel. I always call it an angel. I've seen an angel. I've heard a lot of things. I've felt a lot of things. But I've only seen that little girl and the angel. Like, seen something.
Okay.
That I can, like, say, oh, that is a little girl. I've seen, like, big figures, like, big black figures. I've seen, like, a shadow that is, like, resembling a person. But I've never been like, oh, that's, like, a person. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Do you want to hear another story?
No, I do.
Okay. This one, dude, I love this one because
These spook me.
No, when I tell this one, my mom witnessed this with me. Okay. We were together when this happened, and me and her swear by the story, because when we tell people, they don't believe us. But every time we tell the story, like, she calls me and she's like, do you remember? And I'm like, yes. And then if I tell a story and, like, nobody else believes me, I call her. And we always freaking remember this because it was so bizarre. So in this house, this is still the same house. A lot of this happened at this house that we lived in. We watched so many scary movies. And I feel like that brought that aura into that house. I think a lot of what you see, a lot of what you are kind of ingesting through, like, music or TV or movies gets brought into your aura, your energy space. So there was a long time, like a year, over like a year, where the only thing me and my mom would watch are scary movies about, like, ghosts and demons and possession. And we were just so obsessed with it because, like, we liked getting scared.
Yeah.
And we liked having movie nights. But all of that, like, scary movie and that whole thing, like, definitely changed the aura of the freaking house. And we say this all the time that, like, because when we went into that house, when we moved there, no bad vibes, none at all. But after we started doing all that stuff, watching all those movies and making that seem so cool and, like, oh my God, we love these movies, all of a sudden the craziest stuff happened. And it was like, it had to be related because, like, there's no other way. And I've never, like, played with the Ouija board. I never tried to conjure spirits. Like, I don't do that shit. I do not fuck with that at all because it's real. Like, I feel like that. No, I don't feel. I know that shit's real. And the people who mess with that, like, I don't do that. Yeah. So I never brought that into my house intentionally. Let the record state. I know it's true. So me and my mom were watching a movie. It was a scary movie. I don't remember what it was, but it was like a scary movie. And we were watching it in the living room. We were sitting on the couch and all the lights were off, right? So the only light was coming from the TV. Okay. Yeah. And all of a sudden I'm sitting down with my mom and I see, like, a spider come down, you know, in front of me. And I'm, like, terrified of spiders. So I was like, Mom, like, there's a fucking spider. Like, we gotta kill it. Like, it's coming down right now, right? So my mom's like, okay, like, I got it. Like, don't freak out. Like, chill out. Because I, like, hate spiders, right? So my mom goes up. I'm already off the couch because I want to be away from that little spider. She turns on the light. And the ceiling is filled with spiders. Millions of freaking spiders are covering my ceiling and dropping down. I have, like, a panic attack. Like, I'm freaking out because, one, I hate spiders, and two, like, where did they come from? So we're looking up at the ceiling. Me and my mom are like, what is going on? Like, we see all of these spiders dropping, like, from a web, dropping, a whole bunch, all around our little fan, all around our thing, just all over the ceiling, dude. And I'm freaking out. My mom's like, we have to kill them. Like, what are we gonna do? Like, just kill all of them. So we're killing all these spiders. I go into my room. There's spiders in my room, and I'm like, what is going on? Like, what happened? Did, like, 5 pregnant spiders just, like, give birth at the same time? Because there were so many,
like, little itty bitty
little spiders, medium spiders, like, a bunch of spiders.
Dude, it's like Harry Potter, you know.
I was I was so scared, dude. I was freaking out, but my fear of spiders went away because the fear of how the fuck did that happen, like, trumped that. You know what I'm saying? So me and my mom had to get a lot of paper towels. So we were getting paper towel stuff to clean it with, right? We go back into the living room with all the stuff to kill it. We look up and it's gone. Everything is gone. Like, all of a sudden, no spiders, nothing. The ceiling is perfectly fine. And me and my mom just look at the ceiling for a minute and we're like, what? Like, what just happened? We just saw so many spiders cover our entire ceiling, dropping down. We go to get stuff. We come back and it's gone. Yeah. It was the weirdest thing. We're like, what? How does that happen? And we tell that story to whoever.
And the fact
listens.
that you guys experienced it together is terrifying.
We're like, what the hell? And we still bring it up today. Like, we tell that story and we're just like, that was such a weird experience.
Did your dad believe you?
No.
Oh my God.
No one freaking believes us.
Why would your dad not believe you?
I don't know, because he's not into like spooky stuff either. But like, I tell like a friend or something, they don't believe me. They're like, yeah, that's crazy.
The reason why, like you have no reason to lie to me.
Yeah, there's like, why would I lie about that?
And there's no way you both imagined that so specifically.
Yeah, it was so weird. And we still talk about it, and it was so freaking weird. And never again did we ever see a spider like that, or like amount of spiders like that. It was like instantaneously we left to go get stuff. We came back, we're like ready, and like it's empty. And then I think we never finished the movie. We just stopped the fucking movie and we went to sleep. We're like, actually, I'm gonna dip. Oh, that reminds me.
Oh my God.
There was a moment we left the house and went to my grandma's house because something happened.
There was so much going on.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is at the same house. It's always in this house, by the way.
Nothing at the new one?
Nothing at this one. The one that I'm in right now, the first thing that happened when me and my mom, like, you know, when you're looking at a house, you like walk in first and like you tour it. Right when we came in there, we're like, it feels good in here. Like, the energy is good in here. It feels clean. There's nothing wrong in here. Like, we could feel it. And like, to this day, me and my mom like refuse to watch a bunch of scary movies together in a house. Like, we don't want, like, if we're gonna watch a scary movie, it has to be like one of them, or like at a different place. Because like, if we get into that habit of doing it again, like, we don't want to bring that energy here. We have sage always. We always burn sage. But my house now is like fine. This was my old house. The way that it was is like, we had a basement. Me and my mom were living on the middle floor, and then my uncle was living on the top floor. And my uncle left and he moved to Canada. So like, for a minute, actually, like I think a couple of years, that top floor was like empty because he moved out, and we just never rented it out to anybody. It was just empty. And I remember me and my mom were like chilling in my room for some reason. Like, we're both like laying on my bed just talking about like random stuff. And it was at night, like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, not even that late. We were laying on my bed talking, and then all of a sudden we hear like footsteps upstairs. And like, we were so used to just hearing footsteps and like ignoring it because like my uncle was up there.
Yeah.
You know, we would just be like, okay, he's walking. And like, for a second, me and my mom just like ignored it because like, oh, it's my uncle, you know? But then we're like, he freaking moved out. Like, he's gone. So me and my mom were like quiet. We're like, wait, what was that? You know, we were just quiet. And then we didn't hear anything. So we were just like, okay, like, let's not give it that much attention. Because like, if we give it attention, I feel like more stuff will happen. But like, in the back of my mind, I was thinking about it, you know? Because it was so like distinct. It wasn't just like a creak. It was like, you hear the creaking of the footsteps, you know? And it was like a couple.
Dude, that's so scary.
So me and my mom just go back to talking. But like, it's obviously forced that we're like talking now to not think about that, you know? And then all of a sudden we hear like fast footsteps, and we're like, oh, we like sit up because we're laying down. We were sitting up and we're like staring at each other like, what do we do? You know, like, we were thinking like, did someone break in? Because like, we have like a back room that somebody can come into, and we're like, is somebody upstairs, like an actual person, you know? So me and my mom got really scared. Like, she told me to have like 911 on the phone in case like somebody was upstairs, you know? She goes upstairs.
By herself?
I was like at the bottom of the stairs, and my mom is like going upstairs, and I think like she opened the door and it was empty, and she checked all the rooms and nobody was there.
Check the shower?
Yeah. She like checked everything and it was empty, and like there wasn't anybody there. And my mom came down, she's like, yeah, no one's there. Like, we don't have to worry, because like, when that happened, we were thinking, oh, it's an intruder. Yeah. You know? So when she checked and everything was fine, she's like, okay, we're fine. Like, we're good, right? So like, we felt better because we're like, there's no intruder. And then we're sitting down back on my bed chilling. And then all of a sudden, dude, we hear the biggest like boom, like against a door. Like, as if somebody took a closed door and just went like boom, like so much force.
Like, slammed the door, just hit the door?
No, like hit the door. Like, as if somebody like body slammed the door. Okay. It was so loud. Me and my mom freak out, and like, oh, this was the door. This door was the door that led to the upstairs. So it was technically our door.
Okay.
So we were hearing all this noise upstairs, these footsteps, but then we heard this huge bang on our door. Okay. Yeah. And we freaked out. So we got all of our stuff. Like, we packed so quick, and we drove all the way to my grandma's house in the suburbs, like, so anxious and like freaking out. And we slept there for the night. And then I think when we came back, we like tried to cleanse the place or something. But it was so scary, dude. Because, like, obviously, like, I've seen spirits and, like, I've felt scary things, but never to the degree of, like, needing to leave the house,
Dude, that's really, really scary.
So we left the house so quick. We dipped out of there. We ran to my grandma's house, and then we just told my grandma the whole story, and we just slept there, and that was it. And we prayed.
It's like, yeah. Even though I've never experienced any of this stuff, like, to like that degree, I feel like just little things, like, I mean, I'm not even gonna tell the story. It's stupid. Like, I wasn't even, first of all, it's not even my story. I wasn't even there.
Yeah.
It was like when I moved into the house that I was living in. Like, I remember my uncle, he was there by himself, and like he heard running upstairs, and he thought we were home.
Oh, he told me that, yeah.
And I'm like, no, I wasn't even home. But also, I don't know. I don't know. I wasn't there, so I don't know. And nothing ever happened again in that house. And I feel like, oh, I remember when I'm telling you, like, I was taking a shower. And I was listening, so let me tell you guys, I love 40s, 50s, 60s music. I really like that. But I've never listened to it in the shower, like, ever. Like, you know, you listen to, like, a hype vibe in the shower, or, like, a calm vibe. But I like listening to that music. So I was listening to it in the shower, and I remember thinking, like, someone was singing along. And it wasn't me, because I don't sing in the shower. And I was like, ugh, it's a little weird. And I remember pausing it. And it started freaking me out a little bit. And I was like, okay. So then I pressed play again, and it was like, it stopped. And then it was like someone was singing along to it. And I was like, oh my God, stop. So I turned it off, put on some Maroon 5, called it a night. And it stopped. Like, it never happened again. I never played 50s music, 50s, 60s. I think it was a 50s song. Because I had a whole playlist. And it never happened again. Wow. Like, I always play music in the shower. Even now I play music in the shower. And I've never heard it again. And it really sounded like someone was singing along. And so that's the only experience. Like, I've never had a scary experience. And I remember thinking, there was days I'm like, because you always think, like, my house is haunted. You know, you see so many movies. Yeah. But I always thought, I'm like, if there are ghosts in this house, they're not mean spirits. Yeah. Like, after a while, like, I was like, okay, I lived there for like 4 years, I think. I'm like, okay, if they wanted to hurt me, they would have done it by now. Yeah. So I think they're good. So I wasn't like tripping or anything, and nothing super specific ever happened. So that's why I was like, okay. But even though, like, I've never experienced that, like, so full on to where I knew it was a spirit or a ghost, I still do believe, like, all the stories I hear. Like, my uncle's wife, she has, like, experienced when she was little. She saw her aunt next to her urn. Oh, wow. And I remember, 'cause at the time, she didn't even know what the aunt looked like. She came downstairs, and she saw her. She's like, and she told her grandma, she's like, who was that woman in the living room? She's like, oh, that's your aunt. Like, the grandma, like, just, like, you know? Yeah. And I believe her. Like, why would you have no reason to lie, you know? And, like, she didn't even know. It's not even, like, someone told her, and, like, she's, like, bringing that energy or whatever. Yeah. So I do believe all these stories. It's just so crazy to me. Like, so part of me wishes I could experience that, but then also maybe I think it might be too much for me. It would be too much for me to handle. Yeah. I remember, like, my dad has told me stories of things that he has gone through at his old house that was a whole... Should I talk about it? Okay, so my dad had a house on the west side that he bought, and he had, like, 2 roommates that he would, like, chill with, that, like, one... I think kicked it in the basement, and then, like, some other one. And me and my brother, we had a room. Like, we shared a room in case we slept over, you know? We would sleep in that room. And before my dad told me all the stories, whenever I went into that house, I just felt uneasy. I felt like I was always really receptive of, like, how a room feels, like, energy-wise, you know? Even when I was young. Yeah. And whenever I would go into my room, specifically, like me and my brother's room, I would just, like, not want to stay there. Like, I wouldn't want to be there. I wouldn't want to go into the closet. I was scared of the closet. I never put my stuff in the closet. And I just never stayed there. Like,
if my brother wasn't with me, if he didn't come over that weekend, I would sleep with my dad because I didn't want to be alone in that room. And that was just something I felt, but I never like expressed that to my dad. I was never like, I'm scared or anything. Like that's just what it was. And I remember after my dad moved out of that house, because he wound up moving out and getting a new place, he told me how haunted it was and how horrible how fucked up it actually was. He told me that he would be laying down in his bed sleeping, and just like the freaking movies, he would like be sleeping and then he'd feel like someone tug his arm and like try to like, grab his arm and pull him out, and he would feel that, and that would wake him up, and he'd be like, what the fuck? Like he would freak out, and that would always happen to him, and he would always say he would like hear stuff, and like the people, I think his roommate who lived in the basement would say he heard stuff. Like it was just like known that like it was weird there. Like my dad like experienced a lot of stuff there. I remember, how at a door, like you can see the light underneath the bottom of your door. Yeah. I remember that the door to the basement, when that light was on, I would always see like a shadow move past. You know how like when somebody walks past that door, you could see it, like the shadow. I would see that, but nobody would ever get out of the door. Like no one would ever leave, It was just like a shadow there. And I just always thought that was weird, and I always felt uneasy whenever I saw it. Like I just didn't like it. I never liked being at that house. And I told my dad that I never liked it. Like I never wanted to sleep there unless it was with him. Like I didn't feel safe, Yeah. I was young. I was like 10 or 9. I was really young. And I remember when I was before... I'm kind of jumping all over the place because I'm trying to remember. Yeah. But when my dad was feeling all of those tuggings and like all that crazy pull stuff, with the spirits, and everybody was feeling things, I remember he made me and my brother burn sage in every single room, and he wanted us to do it so we're like protected, Yeah. So I remember going into my room, and at the time I was young, I didn't know what sage was. I didn't know the meaning of it and what it did. So I just did it. I just thought, oh, like whatever. My dad always has incense, always. So I just thought it was like another form of incense, So we went around the house burning the sage, and my dad would say a prayer, and then we would go to every single room in the house. Yeah. And do that. And then I just remember doing that and not knowing what it meant. And then I always remember feeling scared in that room. And then he moved out, and then he told me that story about how he would get pulled like while he was sleeping, and his roommate, and then that reminded me, oh, that's why we burn sage. Like that makes sense, right? And then my dad was like, yeah, that house, like it was brand new. Like my dad bought that house when it was just built, so nobody else has lived there before. So it was never like, oh, it's an old spirit, like who's there. He would always say he would hear like running or like a kid. Like he always heard that. His roommates heard that.
Was it built over like...
No, let me tell you what happened. I'll tell you. So, oh my God. Okay, yeah. So he would always say he heard that kind of stuff. And there was a famous singer. I forgot who it was. I need to ask my dad. I don't want to say the name if I don't know if it's right. Yeah. But there was a singer, okay? And her nephew was missing. Okay, she's from Chicago. Her nephew lived in Chicago. He was missing, okay? And they were trying to find this kid. They're like, where did he go, Turns out, okay, someone killed that child, and the child's body, was found in the truck parked in front of my dad's house. So that is why all of that happened. And I feel like that spirit in that house was obviously like an angry spirit. Like I've never had a spirit try and like pull me or anything.
Was it like a kid?
Yeah. And even though it was a kid, I feel like it could have still been an angry child because he was killed as a child. Like you have to feel angry as a spirit knowing that you didn't live your full life because of somebody else. So I think that's what it was. It had to be that. And my dad figured that out, I think, after he moved out, and everything kind of made sense. And he was like, oh.
So, like, that truck was always there, never moved?
Yeah, never moved. And my dad just never paid attention to it. It was like, it was in front of his house, not right in front of his house, but, like, across the street from his house. Yeah. But in front of his house. And he just never paid it any mind. Like, he was just like, oh, it's just a car. It's just a truck.
Do you think, like, that spirit went there because it saw more kids,
Maybe. Like, me and my brother, we were so young. Yeah. And we went in there, and that makes sense because I always felt all that energy from our room, like our little room, and we were always there. And it was scary because, like I said, like I've had so many experiences and I never felt like scared in a bad way, but I always felt scared in a bad way at that house. And my dad experienced a lot. The roommates, they saw a lot. And then for everything to happen the way it did, and it turns out to be like the singer's nephew was murdered and they left his body in the trunk, like that's crazy.
That's awful.
And that's what happened.
So how come like your dad obviously believes in this stuff and has felt it firsthand? Why does he believe you about your spider story?
I don't know. I really don't know because he experienced that. But whenever me and my mom tell the spider story, he's like, nah, like,
shut up,
no.
you guys.
Yeah, he's like, that's not true. Like, okay. And I don't know if he's just like joking at this point, like just to be like, no, or if he really doesn't believe us. But like, he knows that me and my mom have like experienced so much stuff. He's experienced stuff, so I don't know why he doesn't believe me. But yeah.
Dude, that's just some really, really scary.
There's a lot. I can say a lot, but like this is like, I don't want to go on and on. But I do have a lot of scary stories. So yeah, that's it. I think that's it. I've said so many freaking stories. Do you have any stories to share?
Not anymore. If you have, if anyone's even listening, if you have stories for real, like email us.
Yeah.
inthepudding.podcast@gmail.com.
Email us your stories. We'll talk about it. We'll react to them.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, we can react to them. Or you know what? You know what I've always loved?
What?
Advice columns.
Ooh.
Like, ask Amy. Ask Angie and Viviana.
Ask in the pudding. Ooh.
Oh, nice. Good one.
Nice.
All right.
All right. Thank you guys. Be safe. Burn some sage if you feel like there's a spirit. Don't provoke the spirits.
Cleanse your aura always.
All right.
Alrighty.
All right. Bye, guys. Good night.
Okay,
or good morning.
Bye. Good morning.